Welcome back to the thrilling crime-solving journey of Xu Qi'an in the Nightwatcher, Chapter 46. Jewelry Shopping. Back in the capital, Xu Qi'an returned the horse to the stable and reclaimed his deposit. As he stepped out, he said, "Xu Tan Nian, you can head back. I have to take care of something." Xu Tan Nian nodded, not asking further questions, and began to walk home along the long street. Xu Qi'an stopped at a vendor to buy sweet osmanthus pastries, savoring one as he strolled. Soon, he arrived at a jewelry shop named Baokai Pavilion. The owner of Baokai Pavilion was a literate man, a scholar who dabbled in business an ordinary sight, especially among the descendants of wealthy families. After all, relying solely on rental income on fields wouldn't suffice to support an entire clan's living expenses. Behind many profitable enterprises, from shops to luxurious brothels, the influence of nobility was prevalent. The commerce of the Great Phoenix is evidently stagnant, with heavy taxes piling onto the backs of farmers. Xu Qi'an mused, a frown creasing his brow. Farming yields only meager silver. To get rich, they should be squeezing profits from merchants. If the common folk are to truly prosper, and if the Great Phoenix treasury is to flourish, reforms are essential. But within the court, countless officials hold sway. Who would listen to a minor functionary like me? He sighed. Considering his modest ambitions, perhaps he could nurture Xu Tan Nian to become the chancellor of the Great Phoenix. The image of his proud little brother in all his future glory made the corners of Xu Qi'an's mouth twitch upward. Stepping into the shop, he cast his eyes over the displays, the jewelry gleaming atop crimson silk. Hairpins, earrings, bracelets, pendants, each item dazzled the eye. Among the pieces, gold was the priciest, while jade items varied greatly. Fine jade could far exceed the price of gold, while common jade barely ranked with silver. Xu Qi'an rummaged through his pockets, cursing his meager funds. This paltry sum wouldn't buy anything meaningful. As he lamented his lack of coin, his foot brushed against something hard and solid. With a casual motion, he bent down to pick it up, slipping it into his pocket without a second thought. No one seemed to notice. "What can you do with a single silver? Gold is what counts," he muttered under his breath. The feeling reminded him of strolling through luxury shops in his past life, always finding things beyond his reach. The shopkeeper here was much more reserved, unlike the annoying salespeople from before who practically clung to him, desperate to make a sale. "Do you offer any discounts here?" Xu Qi'an tapped on the counter. The shopkeeper, an elderly man with a goatee dressed in scholar's robes, simply pointed to a sign hanging on the wall, a grin spreading across his face. "If you can solve the riddle, I'll give you half off any item in the store." This riddle-solving rule was a special touch of Baokai Pavilion. A correct answer would earn you a significant discount. Intrigued, Xu Qi'an approached the sign and read aloud, "Clouds pierce the moon. Flowers dance in their shadow." With his extensive knowledge and logical reasoning, he quickly solved the riddle. Items that shine brightly and weigh heavily cost more, along with additional labor fees, he mused. But even with a discount, fine items still eluded his grasp. However, a quick idea took shape in his mind. The women who frequented Baokai Pavilion were typically from affluent families with some education, not the kind to miss out on a bit of literary flair. However, they often had a common flaw: a tendency to show off their knowledge with half-hearted attempts at learning. Believing themselves cultured, they enjoyed the little gimmick of riddle-solving, where, upon getting it right, the shopkeeper would inscribe their solution on a card and gift it alongside their purchase. Even if they faltered, solving one or two riddles allowed them to boast among their peers. He overheard two young ladies chatting nearby, clearly of good breeding, inclined to give the riddles a go. "Lady Yuxuan, I can't figure out a single riddle here. They're so difficult," one lamented. "You're right, sister. The shopkeeper is a scholar, so of course he'd make them tough. Even an average scholar might struggle to solve them, the other replied thoughtfully. Lord Xu Pingzi is the same. I wish I could solve a riddle and bring the card back home. It would surely impress him. Dreams are one thing? Ah, you're insufferable. As the two young ladies deliberated, an idea took root in Xu Qi'an's mind. Excuse me, ladies, he interjected, approached confidently. They turned, surprised, then cautious as they observed his handsome face and laid-back demeanor. Their wariness softened, although they still didn't speak. Adapting to the more casual customs of the Great Phoenix, Xu Qi'an continued, I'll help you solve the riddle. If you save some silver, just share half with me. For 5 silvers saved, I'll take 2.5. For 4 silvers saved, 2. The shopkeeper looked up, astonished the offer was audacious. Taking a moment to scrutinize him, he chuckled softly, ignoring the bold stranger. To anyone with keen eyes, Xu Qi'an was clearly no scholar. A robust physique like his, with skin bronzed from the sun, didn't belong to a traditional scholar, and that gown certainly didn't fit him well. Hearing Xu Qi'an's proposal, the younger lady's eyes lit up, showing a flicker of intrigue. The older lady was more composed, maintaining her distance as she replied lightly, Please, sir. If you truly can solve the riddle, I assure you, I won't default on any debt. The unspoken tension between them was palpable. Choose a card, ladies, Xu Qi'an grinned. The older lady hesitated, but the younger one, excited at the prospect, pointed to a card. Clouds pierce the moon. Flowers dance in their shadow. Nong, Xu Qi'an replied confidently, referring to a character meaning able in an idiom. The younger lady immediately turned to the shopkeeper, and the look of disbelief on his face confirmed it all. Elated, the younger lady bought a lovely hairpin, clutching it tightly as her gaze sparkled with admiration for Xu Qi'an. She tucked the riddle card safely away and, her voice softening, asked, Could you help me with another? Li Nian, the older lady, known as Yu Xuan, gripped the younger one's sleeve. Yu Xuan, we came here together. I have riddle-solving skills, and you don't, so it's only fair. Li Nian retorted, then turned to Xu Qi'an with an eager look. Of course, not a problem, ladies. Choose another card, Xu Qi'an answered warmly. Northeast winds blow, Li Nian said, pointing at another card. Tong! He exclaimed. The shopkeeper's eyes nearly popped out of their sockets. Thank you, kind sir. The two ladies finished their purchases, brimming with satisfaction as they left the shop. Xu Qi'an overheard Li Nian remark, This gentleman truly has skills and is far more handsome and robust than my lord Xu Pingzi. Don't be ridiculous, Yu Xuan scolded, a hint of worry in her voice, as if worried Xu Qi'an might hear. She quickly pulled Li Nian along, hurriedly stepping away. Chapter 47 Annoying Aunts Daily. With the clinking of coins in his pouch, Xu Qi'an calculated his earnings. 4 coins from his efforts, plus the 3 he already had, and 1 he found totaling 2 silver taels. He spotted a beautiful gold hairpin priced at 10 taels. For now, he continued aiding 3 young maidens with their word puzzles, finally accumulating enough to secure 5 taels. That should be enough for a gold hairpin. But I want to get another for my aunt as well. Excuse me? The shopkeeper's pale face interrupted Xu Qi'an's thoughts. Xu Qi'an regarded him with a steady gaze. Could you please back off? What are you talking about? You set the rules of the shop. Just tell me what you want. I want to buy 2 gold hairpins, but I only have enough for 1, with a discount. I'll give it to you as a gift. The shopkeeper gritted his teeth. Oh, how generous of you. Xu Qi'an chuckled, cradling the 2 gold hairpins as he left. I didn't mean to bully you. I'm not that kind of person. I can't comprehend why the shopkeeper was so courteous. He hardly cared about the shopkeeper's feelings. Owning a store like that, losing 2 or 3 taels might sting a little, but it wasn't a crippling blow. Besides, if the man dared to play such games, he should expect to meet someone formidable in return. It wouldn't be fair to let Xu Qi'an profit while others weren't allowed to retaliate. Not long after exiting the store, a prickling sensation swept down Xu Qi'an's spine, making his hair stand on end as if countless needles were stabbing at him. His heart raced, adrenaline pumping through him. Someone was watching, fixated on him, hiding their hostility. A realization dawned on Xu Qi'an. His expression remained unchanged, a facade of ignorance concealing the frantic calculations in his mind. Who could be tracking him? The treasure pavilion. That was clearly unlikely. The shopkeeper seemed eager to settle a score. But to have someone capable of instilling this level of dread required a different pedigree. And a place like the treasure pavilion simply lacked such talent. The Yunlu library? Not right either. The scholars there would rather vie for his friendship than harbor any animosity. The Zhou family? At this stage, if anyone had a grudge and was secretly tailing him, it could only be them. A shiver crept up Xu Qi'an's spine as dread settled in his gut. His past life experiences warned him that once you were being followed, it typically meant the other party would strike within days, perhaps even tonight. I was right. Visiting the Yunlu library is a necessity. Even if my skills aren't weak, dealing with my aunt and sister is a burden. Xu Qi'an's demeanor turned serious as he plotted his response to the Zhou family. Upon arriving back at the Xu residence, he quickly retrieved a military-grade crossbow he had traded with Song Qing's division and strapped it to his back. He added a piece of protective armor over his chest, finally feeling a semblance of safety. Scaling the wall to the main estate, he caught sight of Xu Lingyan chasing a gaggle of geese in the backyard. She stood with her hands on her hips, stomping a foot to scatter the flock, their startled honks resonating in the air. "Big brother, do you see how impressive I am?" Xu Lingyan beamed at him, puffing with pride. "Where did these geese come from?" Xu Qi'an blinked, surprised, as he hadn't seen any earlier that morning. "Mother sent someone to buy them, saying we should raise them ourselves." Xu Lingyan tilted her head, her voice tapering. "I forgot the second part. Presumably, raising them would be cheaper than buying from elsewhere." Xu Qi'an replied, "Just be careful. Don't crush them. No big ones. The larger ones are over there. Let me show you." Eager to demonstrate, Xu Lingyan darted off into the flower garden. A moment later, the piercing shriek of a child echoed through the air, a cacophony of panic rising from the bushes. Xu Lingyan bolted out, a large white goose clamped firmly to her ankle, frantically honking as she screamed for help. "Big brother, save me." Xu Qi'an folded his arms and laughed, enjoying the spectacle. In the late afternoon, Xu Tan returned home, dressed in military attire that highlighted his powerful figure, a long sword slung at his side and a crossbow strapped to his back. He exuded an aura starkly different from his casual wear. The three of them entered the study. After Lu Ya served tea and left, Xu Tan stated, "Your brother and I are all set. Tomorrow, we'll take Mother and Lingyan to the Yunlu library. It's about time Lingyan starts her schooling, and the tutor father hired isn't up to par. The library's teacher should be able to handle her well." Hearing this news, Xu Lingyan's face lit up with joy, the bright smile almost bringing tears to her eyes. Xu Qi'an couldn't help but chuckle, recalling back in his past life when he jokingly sent a good friend away with a pile of homework. Xu Tan beamed at this resolution. It clearly alleviated a long-standing worry he had, knowing his female relatives would be cared for while he was away. "Tian, I'm lucky to have you. Sending you to study was the best decision of my life," Xu Tan responded. Xu Tian blushed at the praise. Father, it's my older brother's credit, not mine. Ning Yan. Xu Tian shot a surprised glance at his nephew. After hearing the explanation, he sighed regretfully. Ning Yan, my biggest mistake was introducing you to martial arts. At this point, Xu Tian realized that his nephew was truly a promising scholar. Something he had not considered before. I'm merely applying the knowledge from my past life, Xu Qi'an said solemnly. But there's something I need to discuss with uncle. Someone has been following me since my return. Tian, what about you? The two men exchanged apprehensive glances. Xu Tian furrowed his brow. Even if someone's tailing me, how would I know? He was just a student in the opening Qi stage. After all. Xu Tian stood and began pacing the room anxiously, voice gravelly. Ning Yan, you should stay here tonight. We're better off close by. It'll be easier to support each other. Also, I'll be heading out to inform the Imperial Guards to strengthen their patrols around this area tonight. Xu Tian and Xu Qi'an exchanged heavy looks filled with unspoken concern. At dinner, Xu Qi'an noticed his sister Xu Lingyu's graceful eating and cleared his throat to catch everyone's attention. He produced a small wooden box from his robe, intricately carved with the words Treasure Pavilion. Slowly, he opened it to reveal a meticulously crafted gold hairpin, its floral design adorned with jewels, delicate strands of gold cascading down. Without a doubt, even just the weight of the gold left the family in shock. Xu Lingyue and their aunt stared, wide-eyed, fixated on the hairpin. Such exquisite hairpins were renowned for their craftsmanship and rarity, often owned only by the daughters of affluent families. Ordinary girls could never afford something so magnificent. Previously, their aunt had owned a floral gold hairpin that she treasured dearly. Xu Qi'an, a single man, had certainly no reason to buy a hairpin without intent. There were only 2 women in his family who would wear it. And their aunt was the lady of the house. His aunt's beautiful face broke into a radiant smile, her eyes softening. Well, you show some heart. Go ahead. Let's see it. Before she could finish, Xu Qi'an placed the hairpin before Xu Lingyue. Sister, this is for you. She blinked, eyes wide in disbelief. The craftsmanship from the treasure pavilion was legendary, adored by young ladies and noblewomen alike. Thank you, big brother. Her genuine smile lit up the room, her crescent moon-shaped eyes sparkling with joy. Their aunt's expression trembled, her ample chest heaving with emotion as her eyes glistened. She shot an accusatory look at Xu Tian. Tell me, did you want the child or me? She had no love lost for that irritating boy. Xu Tian glared back at his nephew and hastily passed vegetables to his wife. Calm down, don't let this little rascal get under your skin. Xu Qi'an felt a gentle kick on his leg, glancing at Xu Tian, who stared stoically at his plate. And so, they shared a meal with laughter and warmth, adorned with an unexpected gift that would bind them closer together amid the brewing storm outside. Chapter 48. Aunt Shen. HMPH. That scoundrel has a conscience after all. Aunt Shen was fuming, her beautiful face icy as she displayed a look that suggested she was nearly impossible to placate. Xu Tian felt a shiver crawl down his spine. Ning Yan, if you have silver, spend it on practical things for the household instead of flashy trinkets that serve no purpose. He intended to scold his nephew, hoping to draw his wife to his side and ease her fury. Xu Lingyue replied nonchalantly, we have enough clothes and food at home. The rice father eats is supplied by our older brother. Struck speechless by his daughter's retort, Xu Pingzi changed the subject. Ning Yan, where did you get that silver from? Xu Qi'an shrugged. I noticed sister's hairpin is made of cheap materials, so I kept that in mind. I've been saving what I can by going without food and comforts. Besides, the Bao Qi Hin has word games on sale for half price. There was no way he could confess that the pin had come from intimidating someone else. He didn't want to be like Xu Qi'an, who was utterly clueless about social finesse. Xu Lingyu's hand trembled slightly as she held her bowl. Her youthful heart melted, her eyes softly gazing at Xu Qi'an. In this home, only her older brother seemed to notice her. Their father and second brother had never acknowledged that there might be anything wrong with her wearing cheap baubles. What girl didn't want to look good? Isn't it beautiful, brother? She asked, placing the golden pin in her hair. The candlelight danced across her delicate features, an exquisite face framed by graceful contours, her shimmering black eyes sparkling with undeniable beauty. Aunt Shen was consumed by jealousy. Xu Qi'an couldn't help but feel envious, casting a glance at his younger brother, who sat to his left. Xu Tan, dressed in a dark blue robe, had his long black hair secured with a jade hairpin. His striking red lips and white teeth filled him with a raw, alluring charm. Xu Qi'an then turned his gaze back to his sister, who seemed to light up after adorning herself with the golden pin, and Aunt Shen, whose voluptuous beauty glimmered with pride. The rest of the family seemed blessed by divine light, while he felt as ordinary as dirt. But upon glancing at Xu Pingzi, whose features mirrored his own with a dull-witted expression, he felt his envy begin to fade. Come on, Lingyan, eat your meat. Xu Qi'an offered a piece of fatty meat to his little sister, then served Xu Lingyue a slice of lean pork. You're the best, brother. Of course I am pleased with you. Then why didn't you save me earlier? The little girl recalled how her brother had not only failed to rescue her but had laughed loudly instead. Only through tasting hardship can one genuinely become formidable. Suffering is the first step toward mastering the world. Can't one become a master without suffering? Only in dreams. As dinner started winding down, Aunt Shen said casually, Ning Yan will turn 20 next year. Wow, I didn't think Aunt Shen remembered my age. Xu Qi'an feigned surprise. Aunt Shen, pleased with herself, ignored him and turned to Xu Pingzi. My dear, find a suitor for Ning Yan. Xu Lingyue and Xu Tan both glanced up, their eyes wide, staring at their mother. Xu Qi'an was the last to react, stunned for a few seconds before coming to reality. He couldn't believe Aunt Shen was meddling in his marriage. The sun would surely rise in the west tomorrow. Marriage was a major affair, with lavish ceremonies requiring dozens of attendants and heaps of silver. Aunt Shen looked at her hapless nephew and continued, I think Lu Ya would make a good match. She grew up in this house and shares a childhood bond with Ning Yan. Not to mention it wouldn't cost us a dime. Aunt Shen proved once again that she was still Aunt Shen. Lu Ya blushed deeply at the mention of her name, unsure how to process her feelings. Love swooped in too swiftly, leaving her dizzy. While her heart was awkward and bashful, a glimpse of joy flickered within her. Xu Lingyue wandered in her thoughts, noting Lu Ya's crestfallen expression. Mother, you can't decide his marriage. He should arrange this with father himself. The implication hung heavy in the room. What was Xu Qi'an's mother's place in his heart? Did she truly not realize? Aunt Shen unleashed her frustration at her daughter, who had been resentful over losing a hairpin. Ning Yan and Lu Ya are a perfect match, talented and beautiful. They understand one another. What gives you the right to object, little sister? Xu Lingyue turned away in discontent. But an objection or two wouldn't make a difference. Understanding each other was far too ambitious. And they had not reached that stage just yet. As Xu Qi'an was about to voice his thoughts, his little brother spoke first. Mother thinks that if Lu Ya marries big brother, we save on the dowry and also give him a reason to move out on his own. Right. That hit the mark. Aunt Shen snapped, You little rascal. You've never known when to keep your mouth shut. Xu Pingzi, sensing the conversation dwindling, concluded, All right, forget it. This matter won't concern you. Ning Yan won't be involved with women until he reaches the Luyan Qi gun. Lu Ya lowered her head, disappointment swirling within her. Apart from the maid who had served her since childhood, the rest of the family opposed the idea of her marrying their eldest son. After dinner, Xu Pingzi hurried over to the royal blade guard, returning later to discuss matters with his nephew. Upon entering his room, he found Aunt Shen seated on the bed, fuming. What's wrong with you? Still mad? Xu Pingji's voice held a hint of exasperation. She turned to him, her beautiful eyes narrowing in irritation. Your son is ungrateful. When I took him from your hands, he was as small as a kitten. Who nurtured him into what he is now? Drives me insane, truly insane. Why did I bother raising him when I could have fed him to the rats? As she reminisced about the past, she caught sight of Xu Pingzi drawing a wooden box from his robes and offering it to her. The box was carved with 3 elegant characters. Bao Qi Hin. Her ruby lips parted, taken aback by her husband's gesture. Ning Yan entrusted me with this to deliver. Xu Pingzi said with an air of resigned annoyance. Neither of you is willing to back down. It was too awkward for him to present it at the dinner table. Eagerly, Aunt Shen opened the box to reveal a more stunning golden hairpin more exquisite and weighty than the one for her daughter. She clutched the pin tightly, dashing to the nearest mirror, and promptly fixed it in her hair. The graceful oval face of a woman, now fully transformed into a lady, glowed with newfound beauty. Staring at herself in the mirror, she couldn't help but smile, murmuring, maybe that little brat still has a scrap of conscience. Xu Pingzi stood by the window, his expression serious as he gazed at the tranquil courtyard outside while holding the long blade crafted by the royal blade guard. That night, calmness descended, and Xu Pingzi spent the entire night awake alongside Xu Qi'an, feeling as if a weight had been lifted off his chest. The next morning, Xu Lingyue, donned in a light robe, swung open the window and stretched into the fresh air, a beautiful figure framed by sunlight. Miss, what are you looking at from the window? I am not looking at anything. After a moment. Miss, are you waiting for someone? Waiting for nothing. Miss, hurry over here and put on your makeup. I know. You're so annoying. At dawn, Xu Pingzi left home to gather his colleagues from the royal blade guard. Xu Qi'an ventured out to hire a carriage, while Xu Tan commanded the household staff to prepare their belongings. By midday, 2 carriages and 10 mounted guards departed the city, heading northwest toward the Van Lok Academy. The journey was slow, taking nearly 2 hours before they reached the foot of the Tanvan mountain. The 3 men of the Xu family collectively exhaled in relief. Is it over? Xu Pingzi frowned. Xu Tan, wise in tactics, responded slowly. If those from the Chu family were truly tailing brother yesterday, they missed 2 prime opportunities to strike. It's also possible that in the eyes of Chu Shilong, we're simply nuisances they could eliminate at any time, so there's no need to rush. He added more seriously, their priorities lie elsewhere. Underestimating their opponent is a critical error, but only when both sides are evenly matched, or disparities are minimal. The Xu family was genuinely too insignificant for the Chu family to regard them seriously. However, we must acknowledge that as long as Chu Shilong remains uncrushed, we will always remain in danger. Xu Qi'an spoke in somber tones. A giggle from his little sister interrupted their conversation. She peeked out from behind the curtain, excitedly admiring the picturesque countryside. Xu Lingyan was still under the impression that they were on a leisurely outing. Xu Qi'an was concerned she would cause trouble and gestured toward the distant library. Do you know where that is? No, big brother. Her laughter chimed like wind chimes, her cherubic face as round as an apple. That is our second brother's academy. At the mention of the word, academy, Xu Lingyan suddenly tensed, turning to look at her brother. Xu Qi'an nodded. We're taking you there to study. And after that, you won't return home. The joyful smile on Xu Lingyan's face faded as shock filled her eyes. She quietly retreated back into the carriage. A few moments later her crying echoed within. Mother, I don't want to go to the academy. I don't want to study. Wah. Too loud. He's just teasing you. Why would he tease me? Because he's a little jerk. Upon hearing this, Xu Qi'an couldn't help but chuckle. Upon reaching the foot of the mountain, as they climbed the final steps, Xu Qi'an and Xu Kujun anticipated meeting Zhang Shen but were greeted instead by the elder scholar Li Mu Bai. Where is Master? Xu Kujun asked. Secluded. Li Mu Bai's expression remained impassive as he scanned Xu Qi'an. I've arranged accommodations for you. Xu Kujun clasped his hands in gratitude. My cousin has just turned the age for foundational education. We hope the esteemed teacher allows her to stay and read for a time. This request was reasonable. For someone as young as Xu Lingyan, there was no opposition for her to attend the academy. In fact, it was encouraged for children to learn. Only children from average families struggled to acquire such an opportunity. Li Mu Bai nodded his approval. 2 days swiftly flew by. That morning, Xu Kujun and Xu Pingzi were off to socialize with their fellow students while Xu Qi'an had 3 days without a chance to enjoy music, relegating their discussions to the study at the academy. Lu Ya was also permitted to attend Van Lok Academy, as none of the 3 elder gentlemen wished for the task of pouring tea or fetching water. The 3 recounted the intel they had gathered and strategized on how to deal with Chu Li.
Thanks for listening till the end. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the next chapter.